second most wins in the UFC, 22. Most fights in the lightweight division, 34. Most wins in the lightweight division, 20. Made his MMA debut November 19th, 2005 at an event called Reality Fighting 10 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Picks up a big win, a KO, a clean KO win over Eric Gonzalez, and he's kind enough to join us right now via the magic of Zoom. There he is, Jim Miller. Jim, how are you? Got a black eye? That was such a short fight.
Got a little bit. Yep, caught a good one. Caught a good one in the first round there. Got a couple more stitches added to the list. So,
how many total? Do you know?
No, I was actually thinking that. I was like, I should have kept count, but I didn't.
By the way, are you a streamer, a gamer? You've got a nice little setup here. What do you got?
Like I had the podcast for a little bit. I've been thinking about bringing it back, but we just moved like beginning of last year. So I'm still not like fully into my space.
Okay.
So I'm kind of relegated to a closet. So you can't really see. So the audio in here sucks. So if I wasn't using this, there'd be an absolute ton of echo.
Well, now the audio is great. And I appreciate you giving us the broadcast headset here. This is great stuff. Yeah. Congratulations on the win. By the way, did you realize that your debut was 13 years ago today, October 18, 2008?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What do you remember from that night, UFC 89?
That was it was trippy because it was the first, I had 12 fights outside the UFC, and they were all local to New Jersey. Mm-hmm. 11 of those being in Atlantic City. One was like Central Jersey somewhere in some, school gymnasium. So that was the first time I ever fought out of New Jersey, and I happened to be going, across the pond to Birmingham, England. So it was different. It was definitely different.
Were you nervous? Like, do you remember? You don't strike me as a big nervous kind of guy, an anxious guy, but were you for that one?
Not really. I had the fortunate benefit of having my brother fighting there, with me, and he fought a month prior to me. So I always got more nervous when Dan fought than I fought. So having him go through his UFC debut a few weeks prior to me, it made things super easy for me. So I knew that I belonged. I knew that I could compete. It was a good night.
By the way, I haven't heard much from Dan these days. What is he up to?
He's doing his own thing. He's got back into the renovation game, and he always enjoyed the quieter life. So kind of getting out of MMA. He just likes it.
Okay, and so he doesn't have the itch to fight again and all that stuff.
No. He had neck surgery. I think it was 2013. And he tried to come back once from that. Of course, rushed it, re-injured it a couple weeks out from the fight. So it took, then he needed a little even more time to kind of heal from it. And he had the grappling match against Munson. Mm-hmm. At some point in there, but it was a longer layoff than he anticipated.
Would you have believed if someone told you at UFC 89 that you'd still be around? It's UFC 267. It's 2021, 38 fights. Did you think it would? Obviously, no one's like, "Hey, I'm going to break the record for most fights." But were you thinking, "Hey, I'm going to stick around here for a while"? I feel like I've got a chance to have some longevity in this sport. Were you even thinking like that at all? Would you have believed anyone if they told you this?
Not to this level, I knew that I would hang around. I knew that I could compete. But yeah, to really think about 38 fights, 13 years, I had kind of planned on I'm going to try to get it all in and my whole career into the 10 years, once I'm 24 or 34 rather, I'll be ready to, to get out. And, it didn't work out like that. So, here we are and, still plugging along. What
do you think you would have even been doing if it panned out like that?
Who the hell knows? So I've enjoyed the ride. It's had some ups and downs, but it's an awesome way to make a living, and I've been able to make a life out of it thus far, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
In addition to all that, that was on Saturday, your 50th pro fight, 33, 16 and 1, no contest, which is incredible in its own right, records or not. And is it in fact true you unfortunately had COVID last month and you had to pull out? Is that really the first time you ever had to pull out of a fight?
Yes. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever had to pull out of a fight.
That is wild. So I'm assuming you have fought a lot of fights where maybe you probably shouldn't have. You were banged up, but you just didn't want. Like, did your ego say, "No, I'm not doing this"?
It's not really the ego, you know. Like there's this balance, right? As a fighter, you've got to like. I'm super critical on myself. Nobody, you know, I get some trash here and there in my DMs from people that get beat by my video game character, and they call me all sorts of names, and it's silly. But nothing that anybody could say to me is like, it's never going to have the same weight as what I, you know, kind of the pressure that I put on myself. So you have to have that pressure, but then you also have to have this balance of this confidence in your ability. I mean, we're stepping into a cage to get into a fight with people that have been planning for the last, you know, 8 weeks on punching a hole through our face. So it's always one of those that confidence thing. Like I've dealt with injuries, I've dealt with illnesses, you know, and sometimes I rolled the dice and I lost and you know, it was too much, or it just added an extra dynamic to the fight that I wasn't able to overcome. But yeah, I had one or two that I was like, maybe, like, let's see, like particularly my fight with Kamal Shalarus. I was banged up for 6 weeks leading up to that fight. My knee was the size of a grapefruit, a big grapefruit. You know, I pulled my psoas muscle, which anybody that's ever used one of those Rights or something like that, where you're working on it, it's torture. It's basically torture to kind of get that work done. It's, you know, it's basically your tenderloin muscle. So you have to go in through your abs and behind all your stomach and stuff like that, and intestines to have somebody work on it. And that's what I had to have done. So that's like a fight where I was like, I was very close to pulling out of that one. You know, I ended up not and having a great performance. You know, and then, like I said, there were some other ones that I wasn't able to have that good of a performance, but yeah, you know, I'm confident in my skill set. I'm confident in the fact that if I'm fighting my fight style, I can beat anyone. It's a matter of getting there, right? It's a matter of making them fight my fight and having it high pace and getting into those scrambles and grappling exchanges and you know, transitioning from strikes to grappling. So like that's my fight, is trying to get them to play my game.
Some athletes, after having COVID, have said they felt no ill effects, like their lungs, their cardio. Some have complained of feeling different. How about you? Did you feel at all different in the cage? Now, it's, you know, a month or so removed from having it.
No, I wouldn't really say I felt any different in the cage. You know, like I felt like I started a little bit slow the other night. You know, I wasn't really kind of hitting that zone. You know, and then like it weirdly enough, it was one of the weird times where usually when the cut men come in, they start shoving Q-tips in you and pinching your nose, like not letting you breathe. It sucks, you know, like it's really hard to recover. And I felt really good with it. And it was odd. And then like, I felt better stepping out for that bell in the second round than I did in the first round. So then it was, you know, I don't even remember, you know, planning on throwing the punch. It was one of those things that it just kind of happened, you know, because I was just relaxed at that point and ready to go. But yeah, you know, like COVID for me, it mostly felt like allergies. It was mostly in my sinuses. I felt it in my lungs for a few days, but I was in fight shape when I got it. I mean, the only reason I got tested was because I was going out to Vegas. So, you know, it would have happened either way. And, yeah, like I took about 10 days, you know, had a little workouts in here and there just on the bike at home. And after about 10 days, you know, got back into the gym and the first week was, you know, blowing it out of my lungs and getting back into it. But, it was pretty quick that I felt, right back, you know, at fight ready.
So the corner working on you like kind of woke you up a little bit, kicked you into high gear?
Honestly, I have no idea. Yeah, like I said, normally it sucks. Like I hate it. I absolutely hate it when even though I'm one of the short guys, they're always pushing my head down, or like checking for cuts or wiping blood, or sticking Q-tips up your nose. And this one was like in my eye basically. And it affects you. It doesn't. You don't get to recover like you normally would recover in training. You're not prepared to have somebody doing that type of stuff to you in between rounds. So it always does feel like it sucks. Like it feels like it takes a little bit out of me. But this is the one time where it was like, I was able to get some good deep breaths in and kind of just close my eyes and just relax, and really felt like it kind of reined me in a little bit, and in a good way.
Did you know who Eric Gonzalez was before this fight, before it was offered to you?
No, I did not.
And I know, we all remember the famous Joe Silva email. Of course you're in, because you're Jim F. and Miller. You never say no, you're in right away. There's no nonsense negotiations. But is there any part of you that gets a little more up for the fights where the guy, you've been watching the guy, you're like, I'm not saying that you fight down or fight up, but the fact that you didn't know who Eric was going into the fight, is it harder to be motivated for the fight if you don't know the guy, or does that never affect you?
It's not so much the motivation, right? It's the excitement. The guys who I've seen a lot, and like a guy like Clay, right? Yeah. We were both on that upswing. If there weren't so many rematches at the lightweight title, in 2010, 2011, we probably both would have had the opportunity to fight for the title. And we could have fought way back then, and then finally getting the opportunity to fight him. Like I'm a fan of his. So it was exciting. It was really exciting to finally get to step into the octagon with him. So I didn't have that excitement with Eric, but still I got, I watched a few of his fights and I was like, I enjoy it. Like I like the way he fights. He's aggressive. He bites down his mouthpiece, keeps coming forward. He's super tough, hard to put away. So like there's definitely always going to be that desire to fight and that, but like there is a little bit more excitement for the guys that I've seen for years.
You mentioned back in 2010, 2011, the guys who were fighting for the belt, and when you were on a roll as well. And we've seen crazy things. I mean, who would have thought Jan Blachowicz would be light heavyweight champ? Who would have thought Michael Bisping would have gone the way he got it? If the stars never align and you don't get to fight for a UFC title, do you think that will annoy you when you're 80 years old, looking back on your career, like you never got to fight for it, and you had more fights than anyone? Do you think that will eat at you?
A little bit, it does today, but it's one of those things. This sport's all about timing. Like you got to get that opportunity when you've got the momentum and you've got everything going for you. And it's not so much just to fight for the title. It's like, I know that I could have won the title. I know that I could have held the title. At that time I was 9-1 in the UFC, and there were guys, getting title shots on less. It's just the way that it worked out. And like, the way that I always looked at it is just, I'm just going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting whoever they put in front of me. And because I was like, hey, I know that I can do this. I know that I can compete with the absolute best on the planet. And, it didn't work out, but like, I wasn't going to be one of those guys that sat around and waited and just, didn't want to fight unless it was for the title. Because the way I view it is that, like, once you get it, like the excitement of it is like, everybody's going to want to fight you. So like, you're going to have to fight off all comers, no matter the skill set and the style of fight. You're going to have to fight them all. So I figured, why not get it out of the way before I had the title? And then once I had it, it'd be business as usual.
Which time frame, which era do you think you were at your very best? In other words, when do you think you were at, the closest point to, should have fought for the belt, probably would have won the belt, held on to the belt? What comes to mind?
I mean, 2011, I was doing pretty good, you know. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, you know, like I fought a hammer in Benson, and I was also dealing with some other bullshit, you know, that I really didn't know until kind of fight night. So it's just one of those things. You know, like I've definitely improved since then. I'm a much more dangerous fighter. I'm much more well-rounded. I feel like my skill set is better. But I'm also a 38-year-old who's been living this stuff. So, you know, the body's a little bit more beat up today than it was 10 years ago. So it's not as easy to always be on like I was able to, you know, back in the day.
And just curious, you say that you were dealing with some BS. You're not referring to the Lyme disease, right? Because that was before.
No. Yeah.
What are you referring to, if you don't mind me asking?
I had friggin' mono leading up to that fight, and then I got a kidney infection.
Oh no!
Probably because I was in a weakened state because of the mono from my weight cut. You know, and it's just I didn't know until I was warming up for the fight, and like I'm like, I'm a little sluggish, and then I went to grab a bottle of water, and like as opposed to just like being a 28-year-old, 27-year-old, just reaching down and grabbing it. Like I hands on my knees, bent over, picked it up like an old man. And I was like, shit, like I'm protecting something and I don't really know what it is at this point.
Wow.
And then, he like went out, like I said, fought a hammer, put him in quite a few bad spots, but just couldn't finish. I did not have the energy to finish. I had his knee bending the wrong way.
Yep.
I had him in at least one or two good chokes. I had him in a Kimura, and he's just so hard to put away. And I just didn't have the energy to do it. And he beat the hell out of me. Then the flight home sucked because then my kidney started to.
Oh my gosh.
Be pretty aggravated, but yeah. Well, we get over it, man.
Yeah, no,
that was a decade ago.
I know. It's crazy to look back on these things. Actually, one of my favorite performances, if not maybe my favorite from you, happened in Montreal, my hometown, against Charles Oliveira. What a great sub that was. And you're 1-1 with him. And I know you talked about it would be fun one day to get that third. Does it, like, speaking of guys, who would have thought, does it blow your mind to see him doing this well, to see him as champ now?
It does, man. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome to see. He had those ups and downs early, and then it's just like, man, he hit that second stride, which is really not easy to do in this game. And to be able to get that head of steam going again, and to have the performances that he's had, it's special. It really is special, and I'm super excited for him. Super, proud to have shared the octagon with him twice, and see where he's at now. And from where he's come to what he's done, it's awesome.
Would that be the dream? Like, if you could pick one opponent, I know you mentioned, maybe Cerrone, this, that, but is that the one, given what he's doing? If you could be that guy to pick one, because you don't seem like the guy, I don't think you've ever picked someone or really truly, called you, but would that be the one to get that third fight against him, considering how good he's doing?
Probably. Yeah. That's, like I went in and he was undefeated when we fought, and I steamrolled him. And then when we fought that second time, I mean, he steamrolled me. Yeah. So like, it's a completely different sides of the spectrum, so yeah, I'd like to do it again. And like I said, I got a ton of respect for the guy. I'm a fan of his. It'd be awesome to share the octagon again with him.
Who do you think wins, Dustin or Charles? You know Dustin as well. Who do you think wins that fight?
Yeah, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Dustin. I just think he's a bit more durable. Charles is dangerous everywhere, but he gets put in tough spots, and I think that if Dustin gets him there, he's going to just keep it on him, and he's so good at keeping the momentum. Where Dustin is really hard to get into trouble. Like it takes a lot for guys to put him into trouble. So, I'm just leaning a little bit more towards Dustin in this one.
recently on your Instagram, and you're putting out some great stuff on your Instagram, by the way. You put the videos of the music and stuff. I never thought like you were a TikTok type of guy, but because you're so rugged and a manly man who lives in the woods. But it's good stuff. You posted a very I watched the whole thing, very informative about your battle with Lyme disease. What prompted you to go into that much detail at this point? Because it's been a few years now where I guess no one is ever fully cured from Lyme disease, correct me if I'm wrong, or overcomes it, but you seem to have gotten over, the major symptoms and figured out how to live a productive and healthy life. Why did you put this out now? What prompted that?
I get asked about it a lot, and it's a tough thing because it's a very personal journey, right? It's a very personal thing. It attacks everybody a little bit differently. I got bit in probably it was May of 2013. Wasn't diagnosed until March of 2016. So I had it for almost 3 years without it being diagnosed and without any meds to fight it. And I have a difficult time kind of talking about it sometimes because I don't want it to define my career as a martial artist. It's one of those things that I've had to deal with. Nobody else at this level Jimmy Walker Page has it as a golfer. There's no other combat athlete. There's no other, contact sport athlete that has dealt with it like I did. And going back to, not taking fights, there are probably a few of them that I probably shouldn't have taken in there, but it was also, a rock and a hard place. This is what I do for a job and a living and to provide for my family. And, I wasn't training like I should have been. And like, I couldn't train like I should have been. But I kind of needed to, but I also look at it like that kind of helped me get over it as well, because I was forced to work out. I was forced to try to improve my body and get into better shape. And all that stuff matters. Like, the more oxygen that your blood can carry, the better your body's going to be at fighting off, this bacteria and a lot of other things as well. Right. Given, this year and last year, so being healthy and being forced to, work out and diet well and stuff like that, I think helped me. But like I get asked all the time, and it's hard to write it, in a DM because it's like, I'm going to be writing a novel, So I always kind of like put it off, and I've tried to get back to people, and I'm like, listen, I just need to put out something that I can just push people to if they ask about it. And hopefully that my experience can then help them in some way, shape, or form. It's a shitty thing. It affects, what the heck is it now? It's like 300,000 people a year, something like that, get Lyme disease, and some people are able to catch it early, and some people don't. And when it has the opportunity to really start affecting your body, it's a lot more stubborn to get rid of. It really kind of like digs its nails in there and is a pain in the ass. And that's the experience that I had. But through consistent effort in trying to, eat well and, supplement correctly and take my medicine and work out consistently, I've been able to kind of push it back. And, I really started noticing a difference early 2018. And then like by beginning of 2019, I feel like I kind of pushed it back into remission, and, it might rear its head back up someday. I'm hoping that it doesn't, but if it does, at least I'll be ready and I'll know how to approach it.
Do you have to do anything on a day-to-day basis to fight it off at this point?
Not really. Just if I eat like an asshole, like if I eat a bunch of greasy food, or I eat a bunch of, like just processed sugary crap, like I feel it. I feel it. And that might be part age, right, and that might be part Lyme. Like I've definitely, like, back in 2011, I was home brewing beer and stuff like that. And like, once I got diagnosed, I kind of stepped back from, making, because at that age, it's like, I could have, a beer or two with dinner. And I do that, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And it's like, it's not like I'm getting banged up or anything, but it never affected me the next day. And then I started to feel like, hey, like 1 or 2 drinks it kind of affects me the next day in a training session. So it's been like, working that closer to out of my life than it is in, alcohol. So, yeah, it's just I try to stay healthy. I try to work out and eat well, and make the right choices that everybody knows that they should be making. And sometimes that is difficult. Sometimes you have the cravings, or you're traveling and it's just hard to do. But for a majority of the time, I eat from Whole Foods. I'm spending the time making dinner for, my family and stuff like that. And, from whole ingredients, and I feel much better for it.
The part that really stood out to me was when you were saying there was a stretch there where you wake up and you couldn't move, like 45 minutes. You cannot move.
Yeah.
Like you're borderline paralyzed. You cannot move your body. That I can't imagine. Every morning for how long?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks. It was like I wasn't, at the time when it was happening, and I always love saying it because it's morning stiffness.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a symptom of like rheumatoid arthritis. So, of course, like I'm waking up and I'm like, man, like I'm in pain. Like as soon as I wake up, I'm in pain. Like I kind of have to like sit there and relax for a little bit before I can get out and then go, do what I need to do and go train and stuff like that. And, yeah, it was miserable. And I'm telling my doctor about it when I was doing my pre-fight physical for UFC 196. And I'm telling him that, and I was having pretty bad neuropathy if I sat in an awkward position. Like if I just sat on the floor, not even an awkward position, just sat my butt on the floor with my kids, my legs would go numb in like 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
Minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I've got a banged up neck. Like I literally have, probably could have had neck surgery. My back is fucked up. So it's like there are issues that could be causing that, from being a fighter, but then it's like, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was, hey, your neck's screwed. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to be dealing with this for the rest of your life. And it was a symptom of the Lyme disease. For me personally, it heavily attacked my nervous system. And, I had twitching, and I had the numbness and tingling, and kind of just like a general like neural fatigue. Like if you, do a heavy sprint workout, how it just bangs you up even more than normal, that's kind of where I was like almost living like right on the edge of that.
Wow.
So like anytime I lifted or did sprints during that period, like it would just mess me up. So, yeah, it was tough, but, I was able to get through it, and fortunately, they were symptoms of the Lyme. And, like I said, there's a side of me that should have just been in bed resting and dealing with the disease. And there was also the side of me that was fighting and competing and trying to provide for my family. So I had to weigh those options, and, I sucked it up and continued to fight.
Well, I and everyone else very happy, and I'm sure you as well and your family happy that didn't define you. It makes the story that much crazier that you're still here, that you were able to overcome this. And you're right. I mean, I've heard of entertainers. I know Avril Lavigne has it and stuff, but like I don't know of many athletes, and certainly not fighter. I don't know of any that have been through this. And the fact that you're still here all these years later and winning and beating the young guys up, it's amazing. And here I am, Jim, as we sign off. Like I'm not asking you about retirement. You see, I know you don't want to be asked about
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, nothing. And I can't wait to see you at UFC 300. I'm sure they're going to call you in a couple of weeks for your next fight. It's an amazing story. And all these years later, it's amazing to see you still thriving. As a fellow old guy, I mean, how old are you now, Jim? 38? What are you now?
Yep, 38.
38. I'm older than you. I don't know, for some reason, I have a kinship to, the older guys who were around back in the day. So keep on doing your thing. Congratulations on the win, and congrats on all the success. Can't wait for the next one.
Thank you very much, Ariel.
All right. Talk to you soon. There he is, Jim Miller with a big win, a record-breaking win on Saturday, a record-breaking fight on Saturday. His 38th in the UFC. Again, most fights, second most wins, most fights in lightweight division, most wins in lightweight division. 13 years ago today, this man made his UFC debut at UFC 89 in Birmingham, England.